but it's okay.
Yeah, me neither. I'm just like a parrot.
No, it's not true.
So thank you very much for your joining, and thank you, Shaviji, for your help again. And we try to recap a few things today. And okay, so we try to go with the inattentive cognitions as well and inferential valid cognitions. So lots of work to do today. Wow. Okay, so
Wow.
you should be able to see the image. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we saw previously the direct perception. Yeah, it follows you have the definition of a direct perception.
A new incontrovertible knower. No, sorry, that was wrong. Free of conceptuality and non-mistaken. A cognition that is free of conceptuality and non-mistaken.
Okay, it follows that the subject, a cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken is the definition of direct perception.
Except.
Except
Yes, it follows, you know, the main divisions of the direct perceptions.
mental,
Yes, sense. Yes, Daniel, mental.
mental,
Yogic.
Yes,
yogic,
yes,
yeah.
and
Self-knower.
Yes, that's all.
yes, very good. Self-knowing direct perception and yogic direct perception. Wow, fantastic. So then we saw also the main divisions of those direct perceptions. Yeah, we saw that they can be valid cognitions. Yeah, you know that. Yeah, yeah. If a direct perception is newly realizing its object, it's a valid cognition. Yeah, you accept?
Except.
Okay. And if the subject, a direct perception, realizes its subject, but not newly, what is that?
Subsequent.
Yeah, subsequent cognition, very good. And if that direct perception is not even realizing its subject, it is
Inattentive.
inattentive cognition, wonderful, very good. So only the yogic direct perception is not divided into three, yeah? Because we saw that quote from Acharya Dharmakriti, Lord Chamber Tony number yeah, the wisdom of the great knowers, yeah, the great wisdom, so the wisdom of an Arya being, a direct yogic perception knows all of its aspects. So there is nothing inattentive in a yogic direct perception. Yeah? So that's the only exception. So a yogic direct perception can be valid or subsequent. Yeah. If it's a new realization by a direct perception, it is valid. And if it is a subsequent one, it is a subsequent cognition. Easy. Okay. So among those three, only two are realizing cognitions. You would accept?
Except.
Except
Yes. Which ones?
Valid and subsequent.
Yes, it follows that the subject, the two valid cognition and subsequent cognition are incontrovertible cognitions.
Except.
Yes, you're very good because they are realizing cognitions. Very good. Okay, so only the first two. And the last one is not a realizing cognition. Yeah? We will see that today. So the definition is a bit mouthful. The definition of an inattentive cognition is a cognition. It has to be a cognition, a mental event, that is a common base between that which has the clear appearance of its object of engagement, a specifically characterized phenomenon, and that which is unable to induce certainty with respect to its object of engagement, a specifically characterized phenomenon. Ah, very mouthful. Okay, so you all know the definition of a cognition.
Clear and knowing.
Yes, it follows that the subject clear and knowing is the definition of a cognition.
Except.
Yes, and you all know what means a common base.
Yes.
Yes, what is a common base?
Something that has a common locus between two
Yes,
objects.
yes, two objects or two phenomena. Yeah, it has to exist, and it is both phenomena that we compare. Yeah,
Mm.
like a common base between water and cold water. What could it be? A common base between water and cold water?
Cold water. Or cold
Sorry.
water in a glass.
Yes, cold water in a glass. The subject cold water in a glass is a common base between cold water and water. Yes. Okay, so here the inattentive cognition is a common base, a cognition which is a common base between that which has the clear appearance of its object of engagement, an impermanent phenomenon. Yeah, the clear appearance means it is non-conceptual. Yeah, we saw that quote from Acharya Dharmakirti here. Sarwa Nawa Chenlogan Deni de la Tome de. Yeah, that quote from Acharya Dharmakirti, he says, any cognition which has a clear appearance is accepted as being non-conceptual. Yeah, it's necessarily non-conceptual. That's why it's a division of direct perceptions. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And a specifically characterized phenomenon, it follows, it necessarily exists. It necessarily exists because
Define the definition of specifically characterized phenomena.
yes, what is that? The definition, if you remember, one cosmic eon in the past.
Um, um,
Maybe you can find some equivalent phenomenon with specifically characterized phenomenon.
It's equivalent with impermanent
Yes,
and
very good.
produced and
Yes,
effect
effect
and
as well.
cause.
Cause, yes, and ultimate truth, and so on and so on. Yeah, in the Sotrantika. Yeah. Okay, so a specifically characterized phenomenon is a phenomenon which is established by its own characteristics without being merely imputed by a thought or term. Yeah. Okay, so just yeah, usually speaking, when we check that in the Sotrantika, we know the target of Arya Nagarjuna. Yeah, for Arya Nagarjuna, there is no specifically characterized phenomenon at all. Yeah, that's the inherent existence, which is the object of negation of the Prasangika Madhyamaka. Yeah? Okay, but here it exists. Here it is an ultimate truth. Yes, it is ultimately able to ultimately able to perform a function. Okay, so it has to exist. Yeah? Yes, please.
Can you repeat the 3 points of specifically characterized phenomenon?
Yes, it is specific in 3 ways. Its time, its location, and its nature.
Okay.
Yeah, like a cup endures whatever amount of time, and another cup can endure longer or shorter. Yeah, and a cup is located somewhere, and you cannot put any cup on that place where there is already a cup. And a cup is necessarily very specific with regard to its nature. Yeah, even if you have 2 cups which are produced in the same fabric, then they are very different in their natures. Yeah? One is very specific, and the other one is very specific as well. So in terms of nature, time, and location. Yeah? Okay, very good. Fantastic. So, because maybe we will see that one day later in the future, some cognitions, they have the clear appearance of a non-existent. Like you are in the dark in India, you know there are many snakes, and you see a rope. You could see a snake where there is a rope. Yeah, so that's the clear appearance of a non-existent. There is no snake where there is a rope. Yeah, so in that case, it's a wrong cognition. Yeah. But here, an attentive cognition is necessarily not wrong because that's the clear appearance of an existent, of a phenomenon, of an impermanent phenomenon. Yeah. That's what it means here in that definition. Okay,
So
yeah.
even if you've seen a snake, you've seen the rope, inattentive cognition will see something.
Yes.
If it sees the rope, that means it is inattentive cognition. If it sees the snake, it is wrong cognition.
Yes, if it sees a rope but is unable to induce certainty, it is inattentive cognition. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yes, if your mind, if your eye consciousness sees a snake where there is no snake, then there's a clear appearance of a non-existent. So it is a wrong cognition.
So it is only called inattentive if your mind has not decided what it has seen.
Yes,
Because
it is yes, exactly. Yes,
okay.
and it cannot be wrong. It cannot be mistaken because it is a division of direct perception. Yeah.
So, but how do you, if it's direct perception and you've just seen something, a moment before it has decided, it is inattentive. But once it's decided, it has realized. That means it's valid cognition.
Yes, so you can have the first moment which is inattentive, then you can have a lamp, then you properly check, you see a rope. Yeah,
Okay.
so on the second moment you have a valid cognition. Yeah, oh, this is a rope. Yeah,
Okay.
very good, very good. Okay, and it is unable to induce certainty with respect to its object of engagement, a specifically characterized phenomenon. Yeah, so that's the same object of engagement. It is impermanent, but it is unable. Yeah, like if you are attracted to some beautiful music, you could see something, but your mind will not ascertain that object. Your mind will apprehend something, but not realize it. Yeah. Very good. So here we have some, discussions, of course, according to the Sotrantika, which is explained by the Gelugpa school. Yeah, because for Sakya Pandita, if you read Recognizing Reality, you would see that they don't agree. Sakya Pandita, for instance, would say inattentive cognition is the defining characteristic of a valid cognition. So we can put it aside for the moment, but just here to mention that we are in a specific context, the Sotrantika following reasoning as explained by the Gelug school. Yeah, okay. So inattentive cognition, okay. So I think it's not so difficult. We could start to play, okay. Well, I guess that you don't know the definition of direct perception. We just said that before.
Reason not established. No.
Yeah, the reason is not established. Very good. So it follows that you know the definition of direct perception.
Accept.
Yes, fantastic. Accept. Posit.
Real conceptualization and non-mistaken.
Yes, a cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken. Very good. It follows that if it is a direct perception, it's necessarily a valid cognition.
No provision.
Okay.
Yes, so here there is no
Why?
reason.
Oh,
Yes,
why?
yes, very good. Why? Yes, very good. It follows that if it is a direct perception, it's not necessarily a valid cognition.
Accept.
Accept.
Yes. Okay, accept. If it is a direct perception, it's not necessarily a valid cognition because
It could also be a subsequent or an additive cognition.
yes, very good. Because the subject direct perception can also be a subsequent cognition or inattentive cognition, exactly. Yeah, so how many points between direct perception and inattentive cognition?
3P.
Yeah, it follows that you know the difference between the two direct perception and inattentive cognition. 3P. Oh, who agrees? Who says maybe 4, maybe 5P? Yes.
I
Any idea?
think
I
I
think
stay
you
at
should.
3B2.
Yes, you should follow Palavila. Okay, so it follows that you can posit a common base between the two, direct perception and inattentive cognition.
Direct perception and inattentive.
An eye consciousness that sees a dog pass by whilst talking to somebody.
Okay, an eye consciousness which sees a dove passing by when we are what?
Talking to talking to another person.
Talking to someone. Yes, exactly. Okay, very good. Yeah, we could say so. Exactly. Eye consciousness apprehending a dove, we could say, when one is attracted to a discussion, by a discussion, yeah. Eye consciousness apprehending blue when one is attracted by sound. Yeah, when you listen to a beautiful music, when you discuss with your friends and so on. Yes, something appears to your eye consciousness, but your eye consciousness is not able to induce certainty. Is not able to ascertain its object. Yeah, everybody agrees? Yes, so it follows that the subject and eye consciousness apprehending blue when one is attracted by a sound is a direct perception.
Except.
Okay, it's direct perception because?
Because it is a cognition free from conceptualization. It is because it is apprehending blue, so it means it is non-mistaken and free
Okay.
from conceptualization, no? If it's
Mhm.
apprehending, I don't know.
Yes, for instance, when we see a mirage, is our eye consciousness apprehending a mirage?
When
Or
we
if we see a snake when there is only a rope, is our eye consciousness apprehending a snake?
no,
No?
it's not apprehending. It doesn't understand. It's mistaken, no? So it
Yes,
cannot
exactly.
apprehend. What is the meaning of apprehend? Sorry, my dog is.
Yes, the meaning of apprehend. What can be the meaning of Yes, it means that our mind is grasping at something or is, yes, can have something as its object or something like this. Yeah, apprehend. Yeah. Zimba in Tibetan. Yeah. Okay, or graha in
Without
Sanskrit. Yeah.
without ascertaining it. In fact, it's just
Yes,
the
because
apprehension is not it's not ascertaining anything.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember we had some proposition of debate about that last, maybe one of the last times. You know, the difference between apprehend something and realize something. Indeed, there are 4 P. Okay, so we will not say that.
sorry, and appearing would be synonymous, equivalent to apprehending.
Yes, yes, exactly. Because exactly, yeah. Because if consciousness realizes something implicitly, its object doesn't appear to that. So it doesn't apprehend that object, but it realizes that object. Yes.
Like
So
the mirage would appear, the mirage does appear to the eye consciousness.
Yes, because they would say it's the clear appearance of a non-existent.
So
The
you can
clear,
apprehend a non-existent?
yes, but you cannot realize any non-existent.
I see. So that's how you're
Yeah.
making a difference, is that you can apprehend something even if it is not true, because your mind is
Yes,
creating something.
exactly.
Hmm.
Like when we grasp at a self, we apprehend an inherent self or self-sufficient, substantially existent self, and so on. But we cannot realize it because it's a non-existent.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we could say we grasp at a self. Yeah, graham or zimba in Tibetan. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah, to grasp at or to apprehend something. Yeah, so of course it's not always the same meaning. It depends on the context, but that's the same word we could say in Sanskrit and in Tibetan. Okay, so an eye consciousness apprehending blue doesn't realize blue, doesn't necessarily realize blue. And if mind realizes blue, it doesn't necessarily apprehend it. Like a conceptual consciousness, if you think about non-blue, you realize blue, but you don't apprehend it.
What is non-blue?
Yeah, if you think about the opposite of not being blue,
Yeah.
what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of the opposite of non being blue?
Not being blue is anything that is
non-blue, blue.
Yes, not being blue is anything that is not blue. But the opposite of not being blue,
yeah.
you
Opposite
discard
is
it.
blue. Is only blue.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, very good. So when your mind realizes the opposite of not being blue, you explicitly realize the opposite of not being blue, and implicitly you realize blue. So your conceptual mind is realizing blue, but is not apprehending blue. It apprehends the opposite of not being blue. Drop it, drop it, drop it. Otherwise, headache. Headache is on the way.
Big headache.
Yes.
So you can realize blue without your eye consciousness seeing blue?
In that case, for sense direct perception, that would be difficult. Yeah, because for your eye, for the direct perception, the object of engagement and the appearing object are more or less the same. But it depends on the direct perceptions. We could say for the sense direct perception, if it is realized, yeah, it depends. Yeah, even for a sense direct perception, yeah, you can see blue without realizing it. It can appear to your mind, but your eye consciousness doesn't necessarily realize it. But we could say
non-blue, when we are realizing non-blue, is it a pointer for realizing selflessness or realizing emptiness? So we're saying because senses cannot understand it, but it doesn't mean that senses have to be involved. Conceptually, you can still realize emptiness without that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you can conceptually realize emptiness without apprehending it.
Without apprehending it.
Yes. If you think about the opposite of not being empty of inherent existence, then you realize empty of inherent existence, but you don't apprehend that. You apprehend
you can
the
never
opposite of not
apprehend. You
being.
cannot apprehend emptiness no matter what, no?
Oh, interesting.
You have to realize emptiness. You cannot apprehend.
Yes.
Can you apprehend empty? I don't know. Okay.
Yes.
You cannot grasp
Yes.
with emptiness.
If it's conceptually, yes. For the Sotrantika, you cannot apprehend directly emptiness or selflessness. Yeah, because it is permanent, so it cannot be the appearing object to your eye, to your direct perception. Yeah, for the Sotrantika. So that's why even in a textbook on the schools, yeah, from Kanshok Jime Wangbo, yeah, the Druptarin Chantrawa, the precious garland of the tenets, he says that yes, for the direct perception, realizing selflessness would not be its object of the mode of apprehension, because selflessness is not apprehended by that. It is realized by a direct yogic direct perception, but it is not apprehended by it, because it cannot appear to, it is permanent, it cannot appear to a direct perception. Yeah, so that's why they would So in some textbooks, they would say like this. In some others, they would be okay to say, yes, selflessness is the object of the mode of apprehension of yogic direct perception, but it is not apprehended by that. So yeah, they could debate about those things, yeah. Fine debates about that, yeah. Okay, but if you agree about the common base here, an high consciousness apprehending blue, when one is attracted by a sound, by a beautiful guitar solo from David Gilmour. So in that case, then you have the clear appearance of blue to your eye consciousness, yeah? But the eye consciousness is not able to ascertain that, yeah? Okay, very good. So if you said 3P, you can posit the perversion.
If it is an inattentive cognition, it is necessarily a direct perception. If it is a direct perception, it is not necessarily a inattentive cognition.
Wow, beautiful.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yes, perfect. It follows that you can posit an illustration of a direct perception which is not an inattentive cognition. Easy.
Eye consciousness, seeing a flower, realizing a flower.
Wow, that's how we come to be precise. That's wonderful. Yes, an eye consciousness realizing a flower, yeah, or an eye consciousness realizing blue or anything that it can realize. Yeah. Okay. It follows that the subject and eye consciousness realizing its object is necessarily a direct perception.
Accept.
Okay, very good. It's necessarily a direct perception because
Because it is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken.
yes, if it is a cognition free from conceptualization and unmistaken, it's necessarily a direct perception.
I accept.
Okay, and the subject, the eye consciousness realizing a flower, it follows it is necessarily not inattentive cognition.
Accept.
It is necessarily not an inattentive cognition because
it realizes a flower.
yes, very good. Because it is able to induce certainty. Yeah, because it is able to ascertain, because it realizes, because it is incontrovertible. Very good. Wow, fantastic. Okay. So it follows that if cognition realizes its subject, it's necessarily not an inattentive cognition.
Accept.
Yes, very good. So yes, we said 3P, so there is no inattentive cognition which would not be a direct perception. If it is an inattentive cognition, it's necessarily a direct perception. Everybody agrees? Yes?
Agreed.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, because it is free from conceptualization. It has the clear appearance of its object, and it has the clear appearance of an impermanent phenomenon. So it's not mistaken. Yeah, it is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken. Okay, among cognitions, could you posit something which is none of them?
A wrong cognition.
Yeah.
Yes. A wrong cognition. Very good. I put a memory of blue, the memory of blue, yeah. It's conceptual. Yeah, the memory consciousness is necessarily conceptual. It's a conceptual subsequent cognition. Okay, so yes, any wrong cognition, yeah. If it is wrong, it follows it is necessarily mistaken.
Accept.
Yes, and if it is a mistaken cognition, it cannot be a direct perception.
Accept.
Yes, and it cannot be an inattentive cognition.
Accept because it's inattentive is always non-mistaken and
Yes,
non-conceptual.
very good. So 3P, fantastic. Oh, yeah. I'm very proud. Fantastic. Okay. So let's try to do something else. Well, it follows that you know the difference between the two, inattentive cognition and conceptual consciousness.
Except.
Except, was it?
Mm, for the
Contradictory.
cognition.
Yes, we have contradictory for the Grula. Then Daniel, you wanted to say something?
No. I think, yeah, I'd say contradictory too now. Yeah.
Ah, contradictory as well. Okay.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
else? Who goes in the club? Contradictory.
Can I ask conceptual, can we define conceptual consciousness?
Ah, yes. We saw, yes, we saw previously conceptual cognition. Yeah, I should have written conceptual cognition is better. We said Jadun Derun Dzimpecharik. That's the definition. I'm sure it doesn't help you. But it's a determinative cognition or conceptual cognition, which apprehends the meaning generality and sound generality as suitable to be mixed.
Okay. Meaning and sound, meaning and sound?
Yes, meaning generality and sound generality as suitable to be mixed. That's a very long one. But some other textbooks, they would just say Daden Zimbelo, a cognition which apprehends the meaning of the term.
Okay. So conceptual cognition, I think 3P.
Okay, 3P for Palavila. Okay, who gets into the club of 3P? Who would say 4?
Oh,
Who
wait a
would
minute.
dare?
Conceptual, sorry. One sec. Conceptual cognition cannot be non-conceptual in any state and at any point. But if it
No.
is meaning generality, oh, it cannot be non-conceptual because your mind is already trying to understand. Okay. Oh, contradictory. I
Contradictory.
switch to I'm going to join their club.
Yes. You didn't want to be the rebel, the punk. Very okay, contradictory. Yeah, everybody. It follows that the subject, the two inattentive cognition and conceptual consciousness are contradictory. They are contradictory because
They don't have a common base.
okay. Okay, so it follows that if they don't have any common base, they are necessarily contradictory.
Except.
Okay, it follows that blue horn of the rabbit and pink horn of the rabbit are contradictory because they don't have any common base.
Yeah.
Different and not having a common base.
Yes, because they are different. Yeah, so next Wednesday onward, we will see that again and again and again. We will go back in those basics. Very good. So if they are different, it follows that if they are different with no common base, they are necessarily contradictory. Are you sure? Sure. Okay. Very good. So yes, inattentive cognition is necessarily has the clear appearance of an impermanent phenomenon. Yeah. And the conceptual consciousness doesn't have any clear appearance. It has a meaning generality, yeah, as its appearing object. Okay, very good. And then direct perception and valid cognition. We did that previously. So it should be so easy.
I think it's 3P again.
3P again for Palavila. Who agrees? Yeah, Chavich. Yes. Isar, I'm not sure.
4P.
4P. 4P. Okay, so in any case, we have a common base.
Mhm.
Yes, everybody agrees. In any case, between direct perception and valid cognition, we can have a common base?
Except
Yes. Which one would it be?
eye consciousness, yeah, apprehending clue for the first time.
Okay.
Realizing clue, the first
Yes.
moment.
An eye consciousness, newly realizing blue. Yes, very good. Okay. Yes, very good. It is a direct perception because
It's free from conceptuality and non-mistaken.
it follows that if it is free from conceptuality and
And
non-mistaken,
a cognition.
wow, you don't fall into my traps anymore. My toy is broken. Okay. So it follows that if it is a cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken, it's necessarily a direct perception.
Except.
Okay. And it follows that if it is the mental factor feeling in the retinue of the eye consciousness newly realizing blue, it can be also a direct perception. Yeah, the mental factor in the retinue or associated with the eye consciousness newly realizing blue.
Except.
Yes, it is, because it is also a cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken. Yeah, so not only the eye consciousness, the main mind, but also at least the 5 omnipresent mental factors necessarily are also direct perceptions. Yes? Okay, very good. And also that eye consciousness newly realizing blue, it follows it is a valid cognition.
Except.
Okay, it is a valid cognition because?
Because it's a new incontrovertible knower.
Okay, it follows that if it is a new and incontrovertible knower or cognition, it is necessarily a valid cognition.
Except.
Okay, fantastic. So it follows, you can posit the definition of direct valid cognition.
A cognition that is free from conceptuality, non-mistaken, new and incontrovertible.
Yes. Very good, because you can take all the elements of the two definitions and add them together. Yes, very good. Like if you want to make jasmine tea, you take tea and jasmine and water, and you have. So if you want your direct valid cognition, you add the elements of those definitions. But that's why I asked the question. Yes, we can find that in many textbooks, yeah, like in Geshe Sampel's textbook, which is commented by Lati Rinpoche. Yeah, he would say, yes, as Ignula said, it is a cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken and new and incontrovertible. But Yonzin Bulbuchok is specific. He would say, he would put aside non-mistaken. Oh, he would put aside non-mistaken. Yeah, because according to him, and it's very, very clever, if it is a non-conceptual cognition, which is incontrovertible, it has to be non-mistaken. Yeah, so he would just say it's a new and incontrovertible and cognition which is free from conceptualization. He would just put aside unmistaken, because it has to be unmistaken. If it is not conceptual and it is incontrovertible, it realizes its object, it's necessarily not mistaken. Yeah, it's just a tiny point, yeah, some crunch if you need that. Okay, very good. And yeah, in recognizing reality, you can find a very nice definition given by Chapa Chukisange of a direct valid cognition. Yeah, but it's very similar, very similar. Okay, very good. So we said how many P? 3 or 4? Okay, so an eye consciousness, which is newly realizing its object, or blue, is necessarily both. So if you say 3P, you could posit the perversion.
Mm,
I thought it was 3P because it was similar to the inattentive cognition. If it is a valid cognition, it is necessarily a direct perception. If it is direct perception, it is not necessarily valid.
Okay. Okay, very good. So who could assert a consequence? Clapping hands forcefully with some jokes and irony, like in the debate courtyard. No, you can put aside the irony of the jokes and even the clapping hands. Okay. So let's remember what Acharya Dharmakirti the Great said. He said, "Sher jani chir tsemani dunji nu don minu chir." Because we have two types of objects of comprehensions, we have two types of valid cognitions.
Oh.
Yes, in all Buddhist schools, we would accept that. Yeah, at least, at the very least, two valid cognitions. One, we just saw that, the direct valid cognition, and the other one is,
Conceptual.
yes, it has another name.
Inferential.
Yes, very good. Inferential valid cognition. Wow, that's why we had this debate. Okay. So the definition is quite easy. Evagitan tayon dalaten ngusu kieve sardumelo wesheri jebat semetseni. Yeah, the definition of a valid inferential cognition is a new and incontrovertible conceptual cognition which is directly produced in dependence on its basis, a valid reason. Okay. So that's the terminology I use here. Of course, in many textbooks, you could find a valid sign, for instance. But it seems that because I'm used to the French language, and in the French language, when we say reason, it's much more clear. When we say sign, it's not so easy to understand that. So I don't know if in English for you, but as long as you understand what it means, yeah, we will try to see that today. Okay, valid inferential cognition. And Yongzin Rinpoche would say, if it is an inferential cognition, it's necessarily a valid inferential cognition, which is not necessarily the case for the other textbooks. Yeah, for the other textbooks, you have also subsequent inferential cognition. Yeah. Okay, but for Yonzin Purbochak, if it's an inferential cognition, it's necessarily valid. It's necessarily the new moment because it is directly produced in dependence on its basis of valid reason. For other textbooks, they would just say which is produced in dependence on its basis of valid reason. But here, Yonzin Purbochak says that's the very first moment after you used that valid reason, then you have a valid inferential cognition. And the subsequent moments would be the subsequent conceptual cognitions. I don't know if it's clear for everyone. Yeah, for Yonzin Purbochak, it has to be directly produced. Yeah, like for instance, do you remember the definition of the direct cause of a cup? It was one countless eon in the past. The direct cause of a cup.
Is an eye consciousness viewing a cup?
Yes, the direct cause, yeah, that which produces the cup, yeah, in the immediately preceding moment, yeah. The direct cause of a cup would be the direct producer of a cup. That's the definition. Yeah, the definition of a direct cause. Yes, is it okay? Because there is no there is no in between between the cause and its effect. Yeah, you have the cause, and just a moment after you have its effect. Okay, so for instance, someone is addressing a syllogism to you. You understand the reason, you understand the subject, you understand the predicate and the predicate and so on. then you realize the thesis. Yeah, the subject sound is impermanent because it is produced. So when you realize, oh, okay, sound is impermanent because it is produced, then you have an inferential valid cognition. And just a moment after, it's not an inferential valid cognition anymore. It's not even an inferential cognition anymore. It's a subsequent conceptual cognition for Yonzin Bulbucha. Because only the first moment just after you used your reason is the inferential cognition. So it's just a tiny point, but if you understand just the broad meaning, that's okay. Okay, and the valid reason we have to know that, but you all know that since many countless eons, because you all debate all together since many times. Okay, so if you want some further points about logic, of course, there is pointing the way to reasoning. There is the last part, which is the tarik, the signs and reasonings. And you have also Tibetan logic, that's the translation and the introduction of the Yunzin tarik, yeah, the logic from Yunzin Purbucha. This one, yeah, the last part of the Yunzin Dura. And you have a mirror making all things clear from Venerable Geshe Tsutim Nangel, which is translated by Venerable Geshe Losel, yeah, one of my teachers. That's very, very incredible, yeah, incredible. And Gen Losel gave some classes on logic on that textbooks a few years ago at Nalanda. He was so kind to do that. Okay, so the definition of a reason is tasukepa. That's very easy. You can learn that by heart. That which is posited as a reason. Okay, so if I ask you to posit the definition of a reason in that proof, what would it be? That which is posited as a reason in that proof. Yeah,
Oh.
if I ask you to posit the definition of a reason in the proof of sound as impermanent. Yeah.
That which is posited as a reason in the proof that sound is impermanent.
Yes, very good. Yeah. Logic is so easy, no? Okay. So now, if I ask you the definition of a reason in the proof of sound as impermanent by the reason product. Yeah, to posit the definition of a reason in the proof of sound as being impermanent by the sign product.
That which is posited as a reason in the proof that sound is impermanent by the sign product.
Yes, that which is posited as a reason in the proof of sound as impermanent by the sign product. Easy. Okay. And if I ask you to posit the definition of a reason in the proof of sound as being impermanent on the Wednesday afternoon. Yes, Daniel.
I haven't got the exact phrase, but it's the same construction that we were saying before.
Yes, you just need to add that which is posited as a reason.
Yeah.
That which is posited as a reason in the proof of sound as impermanent on Wednesday afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So that's just a definition of a reason, yeah. But a reason can be fake. Like for instance, if you have the purple minion who says, I'm late because I just shaved my hair. Then, okay, it's not true. We all know it's not true, yeah. Okay, so that's a fake reason, yeah. So that's why we need to distinguish a fake or false reason and a valid reason. Okay, the definition of a valid reason is that which is the three modes. Susun yimba. Very easy in Tibetan. Susun yimba. Tayondagitseni. Okay, so it follows you can posit the definition of a valid reason in the proof of sound as being impermanent.
That which is the three modes in the proof that sound is impermanent.
Yes, very good. You can posit the definition of a valid reason in the proof of sound as being impermanent on the Sunday afternoon, a Wednesday afternoon. For me, every day is Sunday. Yes, that which is the three modes in the proof, proving that sound is impermanent on the Wednesday afternoon. That's easy, yeah. Okay, the three modes. Okay, we will see that. So the three modes are not Kevin, Stuart, and Bob. They are the property of the subject, the pervasion, and guess what? The counter pervasion. Yes, very good. So you all know that because you already debate since a long time. So you know that this one is a valid reason, yeah? The valid reason here is produced, yeah? It is a valid reason because it is the property of the subject. Sound is produced. And it is the pervasion, yeah? If whatever is produced is necessarily impermanent. So produced is pervaded by impermanent, yeah? Like, for instance, you want to aim at impermanent, so you have to use a target which is the same size or less size, a lesser size than the target. Yeah. Okay. So produced has to be pervaded by the target, by impermanent. Okay. And if you hit produced, then you hit impermanent. And the counter perversion is whatever is not impermanent cannot be produced. That's the counter perversion, yeah? So if you negate the predicate of the probandum, you necessarily negate the reason as well, yeah? That's the counter perversion. Okay, and you all know that when you say when someone is giving you that syllogism, it follows that the subject sound is impermanent because it is produced. You know exactly what to answer. What do you have to answer? What is your answer?
Accept.
Yes, very good. Accept, because you know it's a valid reason, it's a valid syllogism, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Very good. So now, and so that's a valid reason, yeah? And now if we say it follows
Right,
that
can you
Yeah.
just, so it's a valid reason because in that statement, can you show what are the three modes, property, pervasion, and counter pervasion?
Yes, exactly. Like just before we had that, yeah. Here you have that syllogism. So produced here is a valid reason because it is the three modes. It is the property of the subject. Yeah, sound is produced. So
Yeah, what is the
produced has
property?
to.
What is the property of the subject?
So produced, yeah, the reason. The reason is the property of the subject. Yeah, the subject sound has to be produced.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. So that's the first ascertainment that we have to do. Yeah. Then when it is valid, okay, then we have to check the pervasion. If it is produced, it has to be impermanent. Yeah, so produced has to be pervaded by impermanent. So that's the pervasion. Yeah, the forward pervasion. And a counter pervasion, if it is not impermanent, it cannot be produced.
Okay.
Very good. Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So that's why here, produced is the property of the subject, sound. It is a perversion and it is a counter perversion as well. So that's why we say accept. Yeah. Okay. But if we say it follows that the subject sound is impermanent because it is a person, what would you say? When we usually debate, what
Reason not
No,
Reason is not
reason
as
exactly the reason is not established, yeah? Because a person is not the property of the subject. Sound is not a person. Yeah. So the reason is not established. So you know exactly what to answer. Very good. Okay. And if we say now, it follows that the subject sound is impermanent because it is a phenomenon.
no pervasion.
No
Yeah.
pervasion, exactly. Yes, sound is a phenomenon, but being a phenomenon, doesn't entail being impermanent. So phenomenon is not pervaded by impermanent. That's the way around. Impermanent is pervaded by phenomenon. Yeah. Okay, so no pervasion, exactly. Very good. So now if we say, yes, I put something more on the top here. I didn't see that because of the cam. But that's why, okay. If we say it follows that the subject sound is permanent because it is produced.
Except.
Counter pervasion.
Yeah, opposite. Yeah, opposite. The perversion is opposite. Yeah. Yes,
Oh,
because
impermanent. Oh, you said permanent
yeah,
here.
is permanent.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Inattentive cognition.
Yes, very good. Produced proves the opposite of permanent. Yeah,
Yeah.
it proves impermanence. So the perversion is opposite. So that's why we have three types of false reasons. We have unestablished reason. Yeah, because the reason is not established. We have indefinite reason because there is no perversion. And we have the opposite reason. Yeah, because because we prove, unfortunately, we prove the opposite of what we wanted to prove. So that's why when we divide valid reason and false reasons, the false reasons are divided into the three main categories: unestablished reason, indefinite reason, and opposite reason. Very good. Madrupetensi, manyepetensi, and gelwetensi. Yeah, the three types of false reasons. Yeah, very good. Okay, so when we debate, usually, reason is not established, no perversion, the perversion is opposite. We use exactly the same process. We understand that what the challenger is addressing to us is false. That's a false reason. But now we know exactly why. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And we have valid reasons as well. So we have valid nature reason, of valid reason of nature, as you wish. That's just different types of translations. Sometimes we have also valid nature sign, also in Tibetan logic. Okay, then we have valid effect reason or valid effect sign, as you wish, and valid non-observation reason or valid non-observation sign. Wow, very good. So of course it needs a lot of explanations, but we don't have so much time for today. Okay, and we have also the subdivisions of those valid reasons. Okay, we could say that the yes, okay. So I cannot give so much details now, but let's try a last one where it follows that you know the difference between the two: mistaken cognition and incontrovertible cognition. And the answer comes from Sheldon, just panicking. Okay. So between the two, mistaken cognition and incontrovertible cognition. So you should know already the definition of a mistaken cognition, yeah? If you remember well.
Mistaken with regard to its appearing object.
Yes, a cognition which is mistaken with respect to its appearing object, yeah? Everybody agrees? It follows that if it is a cognition which is mistaken with regard to its appearing object, it's necessarily a mistaken cognition. Yes. Okay, fantastic. Okay, and you know the definition of incontrovertible cognition. You can
It's
say why.
some cognition which is undisputed. Uh, is it free from conceptualization? It's
Um, Yeah, incontrovertible means it realizes its object, yeah? Yeah. If you remember, we gave the definition given by Yunzin Purbucho. The definition of an incontrovertible cognition is a cognition which allows the obtainment of its identified object. Wow. We could say that's a cognition which eliminates superimpositions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's equivalent with a realizing cognition. Yeah, it cuts superimpositions, it obtains its identified objects, and so on. Yeah.
So
Okay.
explicit realization
Yes.
is the direct valid cognition which eliminates superimpositions about its object of comprehension. Is the object of comprehension different from object of appearance?
Yes. Yes.
In this
Because
example, I'm trying to understand what is the object for mistaken cognition and incontrovertible cognition. Are we talking about an object of appearance or object of comprehension?
yeah, incontrovertible cognition is necessarily ascertaining its object of comprehension. Yeah. And a mistaken cognition can be totally wrong, but can be also according to reality, can accord with reality, and can realize also reality. Yeah, a mistaken cognition. Like for instance, do you remember, yeah, like what we said, well, maybe 5 countless eons in the past, that a thought consciousness, conceptual cognition is necessarily mistaken. It is necessarily mistaken because
Because it's mistaken with regard to its appearing object.
yes, it follows that if a cognition is mistaken with regard to its appearing object, it's necessarily a mistaken cognition.
Except.
Very good. But is a thought consciousness necessarily wrong?
Why?
No, it's not necessarily wrong. Very good. It can be incontrovertible. Yes. So we have at least one common base. Yeah, between mistaken cognition and incontrovertible cognition. What would it be?
A thought consciousness.
Yes, but not
Any
any.
A thought consciousness.
realizing fire when seeing on the hill when seeing smoke. For the
Yes, an inferential valid cognition. Yes, an inferential valid cognition, realizing fire when there is smoke on the hill. Yeah. Okay, it follows that this inferential valid cognition is necessarily incontrovertible.
except
It is an incontrovertible cognition because
it's eliminated superimpositions.
yes, it follows that if a cognition eliminates superimpositions, it's necessarily an incontrovertible cognition.
Except.
Yes, we could say because it is a new and incontrovertible cognition. Yeah, because it is a valid cognition. Because it newly realizes its object and so on. We could say so many answers which are equivalent, yeah? Okay, which have the same meaning, we could say. Okay, so it follows that the subject and inferential valid cognition is a mistaken cognition.
Except
It is mistaken because?
because it's mistaken with regard to its appearing object.
Yes, very good. Yeah, because it is a conceptual cognition. Yeah, if it is a conceptual cognition, it's necessarily mistaken. Still, it is not wrong. This one is valid. Yes, is realizing newly its object. So that's fantastic because if we know that according to the Sotrantika, we will see in the Prasangika that any mind of a non-Arya is necessarily mistaken. But still within mistaken minds, we can have valid cognitions. We can ascertain impermanence, we can ascertain the Four Noble Truth, we can ascertain many things, even if our minds are mistaken. That's fantastic. So being mistaken doesn't prevent any cognition to be valid. Yeah, it can be both valid and mistaken. Is it okay? Sorry for the
Christopher,
headache. Yeah.
so mistaken cognition here may not necessarily be mistaken with regards to its object of appearance. It can also be because with the object of appearance, that cannot be a conceptual cognition.
Could you repeat, Shavila?
Mistaken cognition mistaken with regards to its object of appearance cannot be a conceptual cognition, no? It is a sense cognition.
Yeah, so we could say that mistaken with regard to its appearing object. Yeah, you have necessarily conceptual cognitions. They are all mistaken. But if it is a mistaken cognition, it's not necessarily a conceptual cognition. Yeah, as you
Then
say, you can have.
is it mistaken with regards to its object of apprehension, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, exactly. If it is a non-conceptual mind, if it is a non-conceptual cognition, which is mistaken with regard to its appearing object, it's necessarily mistaken with regard to its engaged object
Mhm.
or its object of apprehension, as you wish. Yeah. Exactly. We could say if it is a non-conceptual cognition, if it is mistaken, it's necessarily wrong. Any non-conceptual cognition which is mistaken has to be wrong. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's linked with what we saw just previously. Yeah, like in the definition given by Onzim Pulbuchak of a valid direct cognition. Like if it is a non-conceptual mind, if it is a non-conceptual cognition, which is incontrovertible, it's necessarily not mistaken. That's linked with that in a sense. Yeah. Okay. Now I see the eyebrows of many people, so let's try to keep on with that small debate. Okay, so we have a common base between mistaken cognition and incontrovertible cognition. Yeah, the inferential valid cognition is necessarily conceptual, so it's necessarily mistaken, and it is a valid cognition, so it is new and incontrovertible. Yeah. Okay, so did anyone say three possibilities, or I'm not sure if I heard any reply. Okay.
I think
Let's
it's
try.
4P.
Copy. Yeah. So the light follows, you can posit the illustration of a mistaken cognition, which is not an incontrovertible cognition.
A wrong cognition.
Yes, a wrong cognition, any wrong cognition, conceptual or non-conceptual, yeah, is necessarily a mistaken cognition, yeah, and cannot be incontrovertible. Yeah. So that's very different with the prasangika. Yeah? For the prasangika, even a wrong cognition is a valid cognition. Okay. But here, if it is a wrong cognition, it's necessarily not an incontrovertible cognition. It's necessarily a controvertible cognition. Yeah. Okay, very good. And it follows you can posit an illustration of an incontrovertible cognition, which is not a mistaken cognition.
An eye consciousness realizing blue for the first time.
Okay, eye consciousness realizing blue for the first time, it follows it is an incontrovertible cognition.
Except.
Okay, even if we spoke about an eye consciousness realizing blue, that would be okay, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like for instance, a subsequent eye consciousness. Yeah, for instance, or a subsequent eye perception. Okay, very good. So an eye consciousness which realizes blue on the first moment, it is incontrovertible because?
Because it eliminates its superimpositions.
Very good. It follows that if a cognition eliminates its superimpositions, it's necessarily an incontrovertible cognition.
Except.
Yes, it necessarily realizes its object. Okay. And that eye consciousness which newly realizes blue, it's necessarily not a mistaken cognition.
Except,
You're sure?
yeah.
Yeah, if we stay within the Sotrantika, we are sure. Okay, very good. Yes, it is necessarily not mistaken because
Because it's a valid cognition.
it follows that if it is
I
a
don't know,
valid.
it's a direct valid cognition.
Okay, yes. It follows that if it is a direct valid cognition, it's necessarily not mistaken.
Except.
Fantastic. And now you can posit something which is not A, not B. A cognition which is not a mistaken cognition and which is not incontrovertible cognition. What could it be?
Inattentive cognition.
Yes, very good. Wow, fantastic, really. That's incredible. That's the only one in the sevenfold division that is not a mistaken, which is a cognition which is not mistaken, and a cognition which is not incontrovertible. Yeah, it is not realizing its object, but still it is not mistaken. It is a direct perception. Wow, Roche, really good. Thank you so much. It was so great. So, yes, so Sheldon now can be happy. We found 4P. Okay, many thanks. It was so good to revise a little bit about logic or Buddhist psychology with all of you. And we will see next week if we have new participants. Yeah, Nicola kindly requested that we start again from the basics for the newcomers if we have. And I'm sure it could be helpful for anyone, I guess. We could have new debates about how to compare phenomena, one and different, not one, not different, or being different and not one, so on. So again, headaches for next time. Thank you so much. It was really great. And we can dedicate for the sake of all the beings a long life and good health of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all the other fantastic teachers that we have. And then I hope see you next time. Thank you so much. It was so funny.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Christopher.
much.
Take care.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
I just have a question from one of the previous classes, if that's okay.
Please.
I just have a question from one of the previous classes, if that's okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So just
Yes, of course.
so anything that's whole and its parts, so like a house and its window, is it necessarily contradictory?
Oh, yes, exactly. Yes, if it's, yes, exactly. Because a house cannot be a window. And a
Mhm.
window is necessarily not a house. So parts and whole are necessarily contradictory, except.
Great, thank you. And also just wondering, like, how come we're debating mostly from the Sautantrika and not from any of the other schools?
Yes, because they are a bit easier in one sense. They are not so gross, we could say, as the Vaibhashika. And there are so many things that we can use in the higher tenets, like direct perception. Of course, we will have different definitions for the Prasangika and so on. Even for the Chittamatra, we will have some different definitions. But still, there are many things we will accept, like the difference between permanent and impermanent, contradiction, equivalent, 3P, 4P, many things we will use in the higher tenets, and many things we will precise, and sometimes we will contradict things, yeah, in order to refine our view.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care and see you next time, I hope, for the sake of all the beings.
See you all next
Take
time.
care. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.